Hello and welcome, everybody. I am delighted to be here for this panel discussion, and it's going to be a really interesting conversation that we have in front of us, I believe. So the focus of the panel discussion today is an exciting action research project that brings together Art Curriculum Plus and 5 primary schools from the Northwest 3 Maths Hub in Liverpool. I am just going to check before we carry on whether what people can see on the screen in front of us. So just want to check. Raj, who is my lovely colleague from Art Curriculum Plus, could you just give me a shout out and let me know what can we see on the screen in front?
Right now I can see everybody else.
Lovely. And I can see you, so that's super. Brilliant. So we're going to kick off. I'm Helen Drury, and I'm delighted to be hosting this panel discussion. And we're talking about an initiative that aims to explore the impact of participating schools, all the participating schools in a Mastery Readiness work group, joining the Maths Mastery Primary Partnership together. And at the heart of this project is a kind of commitment to documenting and sharing the experiences of the leaders and teachers from the 5 schools involved over a 2-year period. And by doing so, we aim to provide really valuable insights into the implementation of the Maths Mastery programme and also its effects on teacher workload, on their subject confidence, well-being, and ultimately, of course, how those influence pupil outcomes. We also hope to learn and share how being in the NW3 Mastery Readiness work group goes hand in hand with taking on the Maths Mastery programme. So providing that support, the additional PD, and crucially, an invaluable sense of camaraderie. So I am absolutely delighted and enormously grateful to our panelists today. Your insights and experiences are going to be huge value to practitioners in the Maths Mastery Partnership who are considering engaging with their local Maths Hub, to Maths Hub regulars who are considering joining the Maths Mastery Partnership, and also to policymakers and system leaders who are committed to transformation in maths education. So our panelists this afternoon, we have with us maths lead from St Gregory's Catholic Primary School, Dan Foster. Dan, if you want to give us a wave, say hello. Thank you for joining. Also Joelle, Harter, who is maths lead at Blueberry Park. Joelle, are you there?
Got a lovely wave from Joelle.
Amazing. And also Lisa Bradshaw, who is the senior lead for the NW3 Maths Hub and also deputy CEO of the Three Saints Trust. So hello, Lisa. Thank you for joining us. We were hoping to possibly be joined by a third maths lead, but it looks like she's been called away at the last minute. So we'll keep our eyes open for her. But for now, we're going to make a start. And like I say, really, really pleased that the panelists are able to join today. So I'm going to kick off with a first question, which is, I'd love to know what you would say to people about the compatibility of the 2 programs. So the Maths Mastery Partnership and the work group in the Maths Hub. So how do those complement each other's strengths? And I am going to go first of all to you, Dan.
Hello. There we go. The actual 2 programs, they work really well in as in tandem. I think what was really good for us in terms of like the mastery side of elements is that we've been going through Ofsted year this year. So it was great for us to pick out the bits that would work for our school, and then kind of be able to kind of see immediate impacts in some of our classrooms that were running those things. And then it wasn't like a big pressure for us to kind of to use the whole program. So I think that was a big strength for us, that we were supported in how we kind of use the programs. With the Maths Hub, it was fantastic because we started off and it was a good grounding for me especially someone who hasn't had a lot of maths mastery training over the past few years, to then get lots of the kind of the background elements of mastery maths and then start to implement them in my practice and then in my school. And then as the kind of years gone on with the introduction of this extra part of our curriculum, we've been able to kind of really marry the two, and they have gone hand in hand. So I feel like for me especially, I got a really good grounding through the Maths Hub of the basic elements of mastery, and then being able to kind of step it up another level with the with the extra curriculum things. So I think they do really work well together. And it has been a big insight because the actual curriculum, it's so in depth. There's you know, every element of it is like really thought out. So it's quite easy to like kind of pick up and run with and go with. So that's been really helpful.
Fantastic on mute, Helen.
Thank you. Hopefully that will be the last time that I do that. So yeah, Dan, thank you. It sounds like one of the things that was quite important was you feeling like you had the autonomy to sort of cherry pick and choose which aspects of the program you implemented when.
I think we were in a bit of a unique situation in the sense that we were like due Ofsted imminent. So when the kind of the curriculum was kind of proposed to us, I was really like wanted to run with it. My head was quite reluctant at the time, because she was like, we can't change something with Ofsted due. So I think being able to kind of take the things that would work in our school immediately, that wouldn't impact our kind of bigger picture with the curriculum, was kind of really helpful. So like we picked up the maths meetings and we picked out another couple of little things that would support our children now without interfering too much with what was going on day to day in maths. And then as we've kind of moved through past Ofsted, we kind of implemented more and more and more between myself and another teacher. So it's been nice that it's been kind of like tiered, if you like, of like how we've kind of developed it.
Yeah, really good to hear. And I can imagine how the work that you were doing with the Maths Hub would have like given you some of the kind of separate grounding that would have informed some of those decisions, I guess, about which bits to implement when.
Yes, and I think because with the actual Maths Hub, we had action plans and things like that put in place of what was relevant to our school. So I could look at what was offered within the curriculum and say, actually, this would really support what we're looking at trying to implement in school. So they did really go hand in hand, and it's been fantastic, the support and things like that have been given on both sides. So it's been kind of an easy transition.
Great to hear. I bet it wasn't really easy, but it's a nice thing for you to say. So Joel, can we hear a little bit about Blueberry Park? Have you also been navigating Ofsted windows, or have you had a very different experience?
Slightly different experience. We passed Ofsted, I think it's just coming up to 2 years now. So our maths was in a good position, which meant that we had the ability to make some changes. So we've been able to make changes quite quickly in our school, which has been great. So like in regards to the question, we've like pretty much in Key Stage 1 implemented as much of my mastery as we could already, like straight away. I found that both programs follow like the same principles and they have like the same underlying aims for maths. They both promote like that expertise and the broadening and the deepening of understanding for children. And it was nice because I'd only started the Maths Hub, you know, this year, and then we've only started the My Mastery from after January, but they really do work together. So I feel like with the Maths Hub, it told us a lot about what we should do and what was really good practice, and like different ideas that we could use, like the concrete resources, what we should be doing with them, and making sure that like our understanding was really high. And then implementing My Mastery, I think it now puts it all into practice. So now, because I've not sent everybody on the training and we all couldn't go on it, but the My Mastery helps each teacher to understand like what they're doing, because it's a lot of like description and it does like help with how the modeling of different things goes. So that's provided that extra level for them, which has been brilliant. And then I think both programs just share that high expectations of like maths vocabulary being used in lessons, and obviously my mastery plans for it, which was great. And then it was mentioned in Maths Hub about like STEM sentences and the use of manipulatives, which is already planned in the scheme, so it complemented each other really well. And then it's just provided me a lot more opportunities this year to use what I know I should have already been using, but it's like so like precise about what we should be doing, that I have like my children are so well known in like using bead strings and everything now, so it is brilliant. It makes you use them, which has been a really good thing.
Brilliant. Thank you very, very much. I'm going to go over to you now, Lisa. Obviously, your experience is a little bit different because you've been working, well, leading the Maths Hub for a while, and also working with the Maths Mastery Partnership for a while. But if you could tell us a little bit about, what would you say to people about the compatibility of the two programmes?
Okay, first of all, it was really great when Helen first approached the Maths Hub, when we looked at how we could be involved in this initial trial of the programme alongside the Maths Hub work groups. Because again, the people on the call, whether they're working with the local Maths Hub or not, both programmes, both approaches are the teaching for mastery principles and practices. So both programmes complement each other. Everything that we do at a Maths Hub, and I know the Maths Mastery approach is based around research, written by teachers, mathematicians with a lot of credibility on the ground, people trialing things all the time. And I think one of the biggest things as a Maths Hub, and looking at the Mastery Readiness programme and this programme complementary and being worked through that particular element of our programmes and what we do, was exactly what the two subject leads have said on the call today. The fact that it does improve the teacher's confidence. I think the bespoke nature of the programmes and the fact that they can dovetail each other, so one doesn't contradict another, they really do complement. I think the bespoke nature and the flexibility, which then improves the teacher workload, or it allows that where schools only take on board what they need to at the right time for them, what suits them as and when. And I think that is one of the best bits of both elements. In terms of teacher subject knowledge, again, what both subject leads have said throughout the school, that really improves in both programmes. I know the workgroup lead that is leading this particular one, Linda Lavanya-Slater, has worked incredibly hard to make sure that the materials really do interweave with what is going on in terms of how the workgroups are structured within the Maths Hub programme. So creating that culture for maths, I think, is what both are about. I think it's the confidence and the compatibility between both programmes that really excited me to get on board with this. As we run a lot within a Maths Hub, and when Helen and I talked at the very beginning, we were trying to see how this could complement and fit in, and I think it really does. I think it is benefiting the schools that are involved. We are doing a small scale trial that I can see how that would be we could take that much further, and it is exciting, even though it's the onset of the programme. So yeah, I think it does complement each other.
Thank you very much. You've all touched a little bit on what I was going to ask next, inevitably, I suppose, because it was about the programmes. But it would be great to hear a little bit about the impact on teachers. So in terms of subject knowledge and confidence and well-being of working with the two programmes. So it'd be great to hear about your own experience, Joelle and Dan, as maths leads, but also for your colleagues, sort of how have they interacted sort of directly or via you, or in the case of Maths Mastery with the My Mastery online platform, like what's the impact been for them on their subject knowledge, on their confidence, and on their well-being? I'm going to go to you first, Joelle, this time.
So both schemes have helped me, both programs, have helped me when creating like an action plan for maths. So as maths lead, and I've only been maths lead for 2 years now, this was really like an important part of, I think, my journey and understanding what the school needs. So I'd done like some training before, but this helped me to take it to the next level of making more of an outstanding journey in maths in our school. So through the action plan, we actually have put in place the mastery scheme that the children then use, which has been great, and it just provides more information on how to deliver the learning objective for other teachers, and even for myself who delivers it as well. It just gives that extra insight on what the best way to teach is, how to use those concrete resources within the lesson. And that's just it means it takes away from the whole planning time that we spend, because we've been able to use that. And obviously it is written by people who are experts, so we can trust that it is one of the best ways to teach maths. And then it also provides like opportunities for you to model more, whereas I think other schemes mainly tell you exactly how to do it, but this provides a chance for it explains it, but then you go off and naturally model it yourself to the children, which I thought was really good as well. It was great for ECTs. We have quite a few ECTs at the moment, so it's been good for them to have that extra support when planning, which I assume helps with their well-being as well, so that they can have the worksheets there and the PowerPoint there to rely on, and then they can make that tweaks if needed for their class. But it's good to have that starting place for them, so that they're spending that time improving on what they're doing, thinking about the vocabulary that they're going to use as well. So that has been really helpful. I know Maths Hub have helped, as they've given us some ideas that we could do with staff, so about what concrete resources staff feel comfortable with, and I've actually taken that straight into school and used that. So that's helped me to see what the staff need training on as well, and it's just given me extra ideas on how to benefit the school, really. So it's been good on that.
Thank you. Over to you, Dan.
Hello. So we're in a slightly different position to some of the other schools that have started this, obviously because of Ofsted. Our involvement with My Mastery's only really just started in the last 6 or 7 weeks during this half term. So in terms of the kind of My Mastery helping the whole staff, we haven't quite got to that point yet. We're still in the infancy of being in my classroom in year 3 and the year 1 teacher. But speaking to her, she's really liked the fact with the My Mastery things that so much is provided. So the professional development videos and things like that, if there's been things that she hasn't been sure about, she's logged on, looked at the videos to kind of help her own subject knowledge. Things I have shared with whole staff with curriculum maps, and they really enjoyed the journey that children would go through in each topic. And I think that has helped with some of the planning that we did with Linda's help. Because we're a single form entry school, we did some joint planning, so year 1 and 2, 3 and 4, 5 and 6, and we created our own S-plan maps and things like that. So then to say what we thought each topic needed, and then to look at the My Mastery curriculum maps themselves, and then add in those other bits that we may have missed or weren't too sure whether they needed to be as part of our own mastery teaching. In terms of the Maths Hub, that's probably been the slightly bigger impact at the moment because of all the training that we've had with Linda, and then being able to kind of mingle with other maths leaders on the courses and have those discussions about what works well, what doesn't work well, and kind of have quite critical chats about some of the programs that we were currently using. I think it's helped because I've been able to deliver quite a lot of staff training, so I've done 3 or 4 staff trainings this year, so I've been able to kind of really hone in on what is an element of development in school, and kind of use those resources from Maths Hub and from My Mastery to kind of pick up the holes that maybe in our school and just support staff knowledge. So we've worked on resources, we worked on core values of maths, and then we've worked on even just a growth mindset and the language that we use as staff. So saying that something's difficult, some children will switch off. So we've tried to change our mindset in school to be a lot more positive in how we speak with the children, and that comes from both of these courses and the kind of the training that we've had with them. So I think subject knowledge has definitely improved. I feel like confidence has improved as well with the staff being able to kind of have a go at the mastery side of things that I think some teachers are a bit wary of previous.
That's really interesting and fascinating to hear about, even in the year groups where the teachers aren't actually using the unit resources from the Maths Mastery programme yet, still having the unit overviews and looking at kind of the identified sort of likely errors that children might make, or the prior knowledge, or the kind of the flow through that unit being something helpful to do, even if you're then still following your own existing teaching approach, is really interesting. And I can see how that's even more powerful for having the support of the Maths Hub and Linda.
Yeah.
Right. I wasn't going to go always last to you, Lisa, but I am this time and probably next. So sorry about that. But yes, impact on teachers.
Okay, I think what we've seen is that both programmes give the teachers a greater understanding of the mastery approach and the principles that sit behind it. They have developed, or it does develop, both programmes subject knowledge in teachers. And when speaking to the group of teachers, and some that are not on the line today but are in this group, we asked them about this kind of this question, how about them rather than the pupils first. And what they were saying was that they'd expressed that the learning journey within a lesson and the unpicking of the materials the children need to use in terms of how they make connections and that deeper understanding of the concept had really helped with both programmes. I think Dan mentioned earlier as well about the networking that goes on between the schools. Because it's a singular resource that everybody in those schools are using, they've got that common language. So a work group in a maths hub is delivered in a particular way with a facilitator in a style, and then using the same resource, because not all our schools use the same resource. In this particular group, using the same resource has given that confidence to challenge each other and that thinking behind it. And again, what comes at a certain stage, what manipulatives are good to use to unpick a particular concept, that's really useful when they are using the same materials. Both programmes have given confidence, and that confidence in that they know that the design of them are high quality. So rather than going trying to make their own or taking them from different places, the fact that you don't have to think about that, it's already been done for you. So then you think about the maths and you think about the children's outcomes rather than having to design something from the start. So I do think, again, the teacher confidence, wellbeing, subject knowledge has been enhanced by the dovetailing of both programmes.
Thank you very, very much. I'd like to hear a little bit about the children and the impact on the children. As you've made clear that you've got different sort of lengths of time of working with both programs and also in quite different contexts. So I think what I'm going to do is start with you, Dan, and then go to Joelle and then hear from Lisa. So the question is, could you tell us about the impact that you've seen on pupils? So how are they demonstrating the principles of mastery, and how is what you're doing with the work group and the collaboration with each other and with the Maths Hub, how is that supporting this, and how is the work that you've been doing with the Maths Mastery partnership supporting that? So yeah, impacts on pupils, starting with you, Dan.
Okay, so we are in a deprived part of Liverpool where the language that children use isn't fantastic. So I noticed when I first started that the children weren't using lots and lots of mathematical language. And I think over the last year, through kind of like wandering around the school and like talking to children, that children are a lot more positive about the subject. And also they're able to kind of discuss some of the keywords. So from year 3 and year 1, there's lots of keywords at the beginning of every maths lesson. So I've been able to kind of ask children what's going on with that. There's spoken language and the mathematical language that has greatly improved, and even just the being able to explain reason why they've come to a different conclusion. So within the program, there's opportunities to discuss odd ones out and things like that. So I think there's a lot of that's great for our children, is the fact is the pressure's taken off, because chunks of the lesson is just talk, and you've got the talk task and things like that. So it's really helped some of the lower attaining children feel like they're still achieving, because they've got the STEM sentences, they've got a lot of things provided to them to support in their answers. So for us, the big thing has been the vocabulary and things like that. So I think we're just grateful for that side of things. Yeah.
That's great. And it's people talk and confidence and using full sentences is something that we quite often hear as kind of a quite big impact of the programme. You spoke a bit about work with teachers in your answer to the last question around sort of growth mindset and like attitudes to maths and children's kind of perception of themselves as learners of maths. Are you seeing any difference there with the children in terms of sort of the relationship with the subject, I suppose?
They're just really positive, so they're always happy to talk about maths. And I think because I've been a lot more prominent this year in terms of like the maths lead, so more children will come and speak to me about maths on the playground, at lunchtimes, in the corridors and things like that. So linked to sorry, I've just gone blank. Yeah, there's just a lot of positivity with the children. So like when they are asked about different things and they're celebrated in assemblies for their maths work, they're kind of really proud of that and it not being looked down upon by their peers.
Nice to hear. How about you, Joelle?
So very similar to Dan, our school's in quite a deprived area. So we've seen many of like the same things. So children didn't often speak in full sentences in maths. And one of the things that we fall down on when looking at like end of year summary tests is mainly reasoning and problem solving. So this program itself has allowed children to like fully explain their answers, and they now speak in full sentences, which are supported by like STEM sentences and that key vocabulary. And that vocabulary has been a great part of the start of each lesson, which we didn't used to do before. And obviously with the star words, we praise children for, you know, when they're using the words in each lesson and they really do understand that that word means that, and that comes throughout the lesson now, and I'm going to be using these words. So that was a great way, and just helped them to know that particular vocabulary, particularly vocabulary that we wanted them to use. Sorry, that was a mouthful. Also, like with the program of the Maths Hub, it's been great because we've also used Mastery Number as part of our Key Stage 1 intervention that we're using at the moment. And that's been great because our school starts at quite a low point. That scheme is able to fill in a lot of gaps on place value that we needed before implementing My Mastery. So that's been a fantastic use of our time. And then we're thinking about how to use that with maths meetings now that our children are able to, access that a little bit more. So with that, them gaps filled, the kids are able to get that high standards of vocabulary, speak in full sentences, and they can just use it between, the lesson and the Mastery Number sessions as well. We've used a lot of post quizzes and pre-quizzes with the children as well, which was recommended when I think it was Ravi came to visit, and that's helped see how children are progressing, in each topic. And obviously they do end up getting high results from the post quizzes than they're doing the pre-quizzes, which is great. The post quizzes helps us to see like the gaps that the children had and what we could put in, which has had a positive impact on them. And then obviously like the post quizzes, we can just like really praise children. They all have a chance at answering. It's adaptive, so they all have a go, and it's just great because it's like, because I'm year 1 teacher, it's highly using pictures and different resources. So that was brilliant, so that every child can access that. The talk tasks have been great because we didn't used to use those beforehand, and it just gives children that extra, it's like an extra activity before they go to their independent tasks, so I can see who I need extra support with. And it's just great because then they speak to their partner about it and they're getting that one-on-one with somebody then as well. So because we sit mixed ability, they're having that extra, that it's like an extra teaching element, isn't it? But with their own peer, so they want to learn more off their peer as well, which has been really good. And some of the pictures, I'm speaking very generally in year 1 from what I've taught, but like the pictures that we use are put into context, with the maths and what we see. That we're doing a lot of place value, and there's loads of like Jack and the Beanstalk pictures, and the children really love talking about that because it's something that they really enjoy, like a big picture with loads of different shapes on it. So it's been lovely being able to use those. The children really enjoy it, and it's been great. Yeah.
Thank you very much. You're next, Lisa.
Okay, thank you. I think Joel, going back to Joel's point about implementing both the maths, the Mastery Number at Key Stage 1 and the maths meetings are having a massive impact on pupils' fluency. Pupils look like they're able to articulate the thinking and to give reasons both orally and written. and to access all the concepts, and supported by the well thought out scaffolds and techniques that children use. Children can definitely think deeper and do enjoy maths. I think the buzz of maths around the schools that we visit that are doing both has been spectacular. The small steps in both programmes have helped the children to really build up that resilience to maths and feel that nothing is a challenge and nothing that they can't get over. So that real independence is growing within maths. That precise mathematical language is also crucial, and again comes out of both programmes. And those explanations, children are not afraid anymore of saying exactly what they think and then being able to refine it a bit later on. And then finally, I think that back and forth approach, so where they're given the opportunities to model and to practice and to really consider the explanations and not be afraid, making what they used to call silly mistakes or misconceptions. They're not bothered by that anymore. They're really resilient. And I think that's in all the schools we visit, because I know this is a group of Liverpool schools that we're working with on this particular work group, but we do have in our other areas in Sefton, Knowsley, Liverpool, St Helens and Wigan, we have very different schools that are taking both approaches, that are trialling both approaches, and that it is working.
Thank you very, very much. We're moving on to our final question from the discussion, which is really around the Maths Mastery Development Lead support that you have, which is Ravi, and the support that you're getting with the Maths Hub. We've already mentioned Linda, and it would be great to hear how that works. And I think also where people have heard about the possibility of sort of simultaneously engaging with the Maths Mastery Partnership and with the work groups and the Maths Hubs, there's a sort of a preconception, let's not call it a misconception, but that you might be being pulled in different directions, or if you've got sort of two different people supporting you, that there could be sort of emergent tensions from that. Now, you haven't really touched on that, Dan or Joelle, that may be, but it would just be really good to hear sort of how are you being supported by your Maths Mastery Development Lead and by the Hub, and where is that working together? And be honest, where are their challenges? But if you could tell us a little bit about the support. I think I am actually crazily going to start with you, Lisa, just to talk about how you could see those working together, because you've got lots of experience sort of firsthand and from lots of the schools that you work with, of them having that support and challenge from both the Hub and from the Maths Mastery team. So you start us off, please.
I think initially there is always a fear of every school not doing too much, and also that contradictory message. So whenever schools are approached with, can we trial this particular scheme of work or project or programme, schools always think, well, I'm doing one particular style. If I do something else, is it going to contradict? Is it going to pull me away from why I started one programme? And it is really important that, if you're sticking with a particular idea, concept, that you're not overwhelming staff and that you're not changing for changing's sake. And I think the one thing about these programmes that do complement each other is it's always about the core values. So we have made sure that they do complement. As a Maths Hub, it's not, no matter what programme, because we don't endorse any programme, it's not about us endorsing a programme, it's making sure that as a Maths Hub we make the programme fit. And I think what we've managed to do here is, by several schools, not just one particular style of school, that the programme has complemented what Maths Hubs do. So that's why I know Dan's experience and Joel's experience with Linda as a workgroup lead, it has been very carefully thought about how both would be implemented together. So the Mastery Readiness programme is all about creating that culture of maths and that love of maths in a school before you even start thinking about the principles and how they're going to be rolled out and what materials you're going to use and what resources and so on. I think that's been carefully and very well designed from both ends. I think the teams at Maths Mastery and at Maths Hub have really thought about not overwhelming the schools that they'll be working with, bringing bespoke things in via the action plans, making sure that schools take on elements of the programme that work for them, making sure that bits have been identified, for example, the maths meetings and mastery number, where they can be merged together. Some of the materials look exactly the same, some complement and take some a bit further to ensure the children critically think throughout. I think to gather the intelligence of both is quite a unique situation for us to be in. I think on our local Leaders of Maths Education Days that we run as a Maths Hub, we talk about lots of different approaches to maths. And then we make sure that the people that do similar approaches are all together, so they have that chance to talk about the best bits and the worst bits and what's been challenging. And I think one of the biggest challenges is what I started with, it's that pull on. There's so many different things out there, and making sure that they don't contradict each other and they do complement each other with the same styles. I know Linda, when she put the programme together, made sure that the Maths Mastery Development Lead was always part of what she did. So they did the induction day together. It wasn't you do one induction day followed by another induction day, which I suppose then is cutting down on the time that staff are used in school, so that Dan and Joel are not coming out several times, they're coming out the once, and during that one meeting they're hearing about both elements and how they run together. I think it was making sure, when I spoke to Linda about the mastery development days in the schools, so the site visits are always done together. So again, we're all hearing the same message, it's that triangulation. And then the way forward is what Linda and I spoke about last week. It's that making sure that that continues, the PD model continues to be high quality and together, so that there is that common message, that common theme. Where are the gaps? What do we need to do next? And so on, to make sure the schools get the best possible experience of both, and making sure then it does embed and it does sustain for that longevity as these schools in our work group move from the Mastery Readiness element of the phase to the development stage, then through to embedding, through to sustaining, which is how the Maths Hub programmes work. So I do think it's a really solid foundation that we've built here. And it is exciting, and it is exciting to see where it's going to go to, obviously, at the end of this year. But yeah, it appears to be working so far.
Thank you very much. Let's hear from the schools. Can we start with you, Dan?
Yeah, I just want to echo what Lisa said, because the two programs do work hand in hand. And I think what's been quite interesting and brilliant is the fact that they've both been sensitive to our school needs. So both programs have kind of taken on board kind of the position that I'm in as a maths lead, the position that our pupils are in, and they've supported everywhere. So through our action plans and things like that. So with Linda coming in to develop the action plan, and then the fact that I can speak to the mastery people, and then they can come and kind of like support and point me in direction. So I feel I'm supported everywhere. So if I've got questions, I've got people that I can reach out to and I'll get answers and things like that. So I feel like, because I feel supported, I feel I can support my staff, they can support their children. So it feels like it really filters down. It's a really positive experience. I think what's been helpful for me is that each session's like planned out in advance. So it's not just someone coming to school and sitting down and going, what should we do today? It's been in action for a couple of weeks. It's been to and fro. This is what we're going to look at next time. Right? Can you have this prepared? Can you try this? So it means that some of the teachers that I've worked with, I've gone away and asked, right, try this in your class for me, tell me what you think of it. So I can have them kind of critical discussions with staff about what has worked and what hasn't worked, and more importantly, if it hasn't worked, how can we make it better? So I think it's given me a lot of confidence, which is then filtered down. And as I say, the fact that both programs are so sensitive to our school needs, it's not being pushed on us. You have to do this, you have to do that. It's, well, you pick what is going to work with your school, and then see how much support you need to embed it really well. And then, right, let's look at the next thing. So I think it's just been again, just a really positive experience.
Very lovely to hear. Joelle, you're going to get the last word on support from both programs.
Yes, so they both came in to support me on the day, and that was really good, because obviously I think it was like Linda's first experience of ARC as well, and the new scheme, so it was great to kind of learn it together. It was really helpful that I had questions, she had questions, and it was just all like encompassed within the one day. Both Linda and Ravi watched me teach the ARC curriculum and see what that looked like in our school. And that was brilliant, because obviously with me being maths lead, I have to try and train other people in using this, but I wasn't 100% sure I was doing the right thing myself. And obviously, unless someone's watched you and been critical and gave you advice. I think it was hard to be that leading example. So that was brilliant, having them both in, telling me what went well, what I need to focus on, what I could do to improve in our school, what might need changing, was a really good way to like adapt the program for the school that I'm in. So that was just like using, like looking more on the narrative of the lessons and when we could put things in that might needed some help. So it was just really personalizing the program for our school, which was great. They worked on what could be upcoming for our school, and it's just the action plan and the focus on developing like slowly over a period of time, not rushing everything, not putting loads of things into our curriculum in our school. I'd say like the challenge was because we started My Mastery halfway through the year, it was hard doing the switch because I started using the My Mastery like tools halfway, so we were a bit behind. That's the biggest challenge of all. It would have been easier to start at the beginning, but we have taken that on straight away, and then we've thought about things and how we can implement that from next year, because we're going to start with Key Stage 2 next year. So it was good getting that planning in advance, and that's how both Linda and Ravi have supported in the preparation for the implementation of it. They've helped me with doing staff meetings and what we should introduce first. So we've started with the maths minutes. So I've now delivered that staff meeting. So the staff are currently prepping to start that from after half term. And then I'm going to teach another staff meeting in a few weeks to introduce the My Mastery program itself and the website and different things like that. So it's been good having somebody to help me slowly plan the implementation over a period of time, to not, provide too much for members of staff that would negatively impact their well-being, but to give them little bits here and there that will help them, and then obviously to take on the full scheme and to use that to benefit the school and the children. So that's been brilliant. Yeah, they've both been great, so thank you.
Well, thank you. And yeah, Dan and Joel, just the way that you're clearly such reflective and ambitious and kind of really open in your leadership approach is really inspiring to hear about. So thank you for sharing that. As I said at the beginning, this is, it's an action research project, and we want to keep sharing as we continue along the journey. I think next year is going to be really exciting as more teachers and more year groups in all of the schools in the work group take on the approach and are using sort of more of the assessment tools and classroom resources from the Maths Mastery programme. So yeah, watch this space. We may be asking you to come back and tell us how it all goes, but enormous thanks for everything that you've shared with us in this session. I'm going to try and share a slide now, just because I'm aware that there will be many people who are listening to this who are already working with Maths Mastery Partnership and are really interested in thinking more about how they might get involved with their local maths hub, which is great. But there may also be people who are already working with their maths hub or about to consider it for next year and are thinking about how Maths Mastery might work with that. The Education Endowment Foundation brilliantly is considerably subsidising the joining of the Maths Mastery programme. So if you are in a school in England which has got at least Key Stage 1, so sadly doesn't work if you're a junior school, but if you've got a Key Stage 1, then you can join the Maths Mastery programme if you're quick, because there's limited places, but it's possible to join the programme at a reduced cost. So please do reach out and get in touch with us if you're interested in doing that. And actually, if you have any other questions about the programme and how it works, then we would absolutely love to hear from you. So I want to finish by just saying a really heartfelt thank you to all three of our panelists. It has been brilliant to hear your journeys so far. And as I say, we look forward to hearing more in future.